Hello everybody and welcome back to another new vlog. Thank you for joining me once again. Today I'm in Cannock Chase again and I'm doing a walk that part of it I've done before and part of it I haven't done before. But the reason I'm doing it today is purely and simply to get out and about and have a bit of a wander around. But also I want to try and do slightly more walking around Cannock Chase if I can. Like I said, some of what I'm going to do today I've already done before, but some of it I haven't, so I'm following a circular route and hopefully that'll take me to one or two spots I've never been to before. I'm heading towards Fair Oak Pools and Storybrook Pools at the moment, but I've already been walking for about an hour and 20 minutes, and the reason I haven't done any vlogging up until now is I walked along the Heritage Trail from Rugeley Town train station past Slitting Mill Waterfall and stopped off at Slitting Mill Waterfall to take a couple of photos there. I've been there before, I've vlogged it before. There's nothing special about the place, I just like the look of the images that I can get there, and I haven't got images there from that spot at this time of year before now, so it was just a case of popping in there, capturing a couple of quick shots and moving on. I'll show you the shots in just a moment. The first one I've taken in horizontal orientation and the second one I've taken in vertical orientation, and that's just because I couldn't really decide exactly which of those was the best option anyway. But also with one of those images I've had to focus stack the images, so I've taken 3 different shots with different focus points within the image, and then I'm going to stack those together and give you the resulting image at the end of in just a moment, as I said. So I'm going to move on now past Storybrook Pools and up towards Fair Oak Pools, and then carry on round towards the visitor centre, which is somewhere I've not been to before when I've been vlogging. So come along for the ride. So trust me to take a wrong turn somewhere. That's always the way, to be honest with you. It wasn't a real big problem. I only walked about 50 yards or so too far and then realised I'd gone the wrong way, so turned back and carried on back where I should have been going. But I've come to a spot now called Fair Oak Pools, which is just along a bit from Storybrook Pools, where I took a wrong turn in fact. And I came here, I don't know whether it was last year or the year before, and it was a little bit later in the year than this. It's late September now, but I came here I think probably either into October or at the beginning of November, and the colours at that time of year were amazing, with it being autumn. I mean, I suppose it's autumn now, but the colours haven't yet changed. Everything's still very, very green and vibrant with colour, but the colours when I came here last time were absolutely amazing, and I actually stood on the opposite side of Fair Oak Pools. I don't know how well you can see over there, but across there's a little kind of cutting which kind of slopes down towards the pools themselves, and I stood there under a tree and captured a beautiful panoramic sweep of all of this woodland behind me from the other side of the pool, and obviously that was all in colour, yellows and golds and browns. It was absolutely beautiful, but at the moment the colours aren't changing yet, so that's not going to be a great image. But I just thought I'd pop down here and see if there's another composition anywhere near here. I don't think there is, so I'm going to head back round to the other side of the pool and continue my walk along that way. So I'm right back in exactly the same spot where I took the pano last time I was here, and I've come to this point again because I think the composition still works quite well, even with all this green around. The light in the sky is nothing to worry about really. We forecast rain for today and we've got quite a lot of low cloud, and I think the rain's going to be here any minute now really, so it would be a good idea to capture this shot now before the wet weather arrives. But as I said, the green of the trees behind me was very, very different the last time I was here, but I think I want to try and capture this shot with the reflections in the water. However, I'm going to have to use a polarising filter to take some of the green off the water because of that sky up there, which is very grey, but it's giving off a lot of light towards that water, so it's really, really bouncing off the water, and I want to remove that. So polarising filter will go onto the lens, but also I think I want to capture the trees in the background as well as the reflections of the trees in the pool. So it's going to be a 24 to 105mm lens here, probably at 24, maybe 35mm, depending on what I think suits the image best. So I hope you like this shot. So the rain arrived a few minutes ago. It wasn't very heavy, only that very light drizzly rain that sometimes gets very persistent and very annoying after a bit, but it only really lasted a few minutes. Now I've come up here I've got as far as the visitor centre here on Cannock Chase, up by Marquis Drive, if any of you know that area. And I'm going to pop in there and see if there's a cafe there. I can't remember if there is, it's been a long time since I was actually at this spot. But then from here, I can continue my walk back down along Marquis Drive, back towards where I came from, and then carry on down the main road here, and then continue a walk, the circular walk around. So for now I'm going to head into the visitor centre. So I am now heading down Marquis Drive, and as I turn around here, this behind me is the path I came up to reach Marquis Drive, and then I turned along Marquis Drive here behind me. I went along there about 150 yards and turned left again in towards the visitor centre. I did manage to find a cafe there, so I've had a sandwich and a snack. I've got myself a bottle of pop, and I'm going to head now back down Marquis Drive towards Hensford, hopefully. The rain is just starting to come on again now, so I think I might just get to Hensford and get back on the train and go home from there. There is a route that would take me back towards Rugeley, avoiding Slitting Mill, so I wouldn't have to go past the waterfall again. That's a slightly longer route, and obviously if the rain gets too heavy I want to be out of the way fairly quickly. But also there's another route which also then cuts back through Slitting Mill, which is slightly shorter than the route directly to Rugeley. So that may also be a possibility, and then of course going through Slitting Mill I could stop at the Horns for a pint and maybe something to eat there as well. But it all depends on timing really. So now I'm just going to keep walking down Marquis Drive and see if I can find my route out of here. So I managed to get off Marquis Drive and turn onto a path never ever been on before. To be honest, that section of Marquis Drive that I walked along, I've never walked along before anyway, so this is all very new to me, this area now anyway. But I'm using OS maps to try and work out my route, and also along the way I'm looking at the various different paths as I get to them, and as I enter the pathway itself to make sure I'm allowed to actually walk along these paths. In some cases there are trails for cyclists and mountain bike racers, and you're not really allowed to be walking on those tracks. So I have to be absolutely certain that I'm going the right way as I'm walking, because I know that if I get in the way of cyclists travelling at speed, that could cause a serious accident for both of us, so I don't want to be doing that. So at the minute I appear to be going down a path which I am allowed to walk down, and it kind of follows back around the back end of Storybrook pools and Fair Oak pools, but I don't actually get to walk past them again on this path. I'm just slightly further away from them, and eventually I'll come out a little further on past those pools and heading back towards Slitting Mill. So that's the route I've decided to take. There may well be some more photos along the way as well. That's what I'm hoping anyway, because I haven't got many yet today. But I also think that the views are about to open up as well, so I might get some interesting shots just along here, especially now that it's starting to drizzle a little bit, and that's really changing the atmosphere and making everything look very moody. There's no light to talk of, and there's no real drama in the sky, although there's a little bit there now. But it's mainly just very misty and murky, which could be very interesting for photography. So I'm going to make sure I'm going the right way now. There's another junction of paths here, and then I'll see where I get to. So that last path that I walked down, although it appeared to be perfectly safe for me to walk down it, there was nothing saying that I couldn't walk down it. It did turn out to be a mountain bike trail. As I was walking down it, it narrowed and it became very, very overgrown on either side. And I got about 150 yards down the path and suddenly heard voices behind me, and there was a group of 4 mountain bikers coming down the path. Luckily, because the path was quite narrow and very overgrown, they were travelling quite slowly anyway. So when they saw me, they called out to me and let me know that they were coming, and I could step to the side of the path and let them through. They were the only people that I saw along that path, so it didn't really matter too much. But then I came back out onto another path, and I've come out onto now what appears to be quite a fast flowing road. It's not very busy at the moment, so it seems fairly safe. There are no pavements either side, but there is a bit of a grass verge on either side. So I'm walking on the side opposite the traffic, if you know what I mean. So traffic drives on the left hand side of the road here in the UK. So I'm on the right hand side of the road, and anytime I see cars coming towards me, I can step up onto the grass verge out of the way. Cars coming from behind me, they will see me first anyway and stay on the left hand side of the road out of my way. So it shouldn't be too much of a problem. But I'm not all that far now from Slitting Mill, so it's only going to be about 10 or 15 minutes and I'll be at the Horns restaurant. So I'm going to keep walking. I'll keep the video running and see if there are any more shots that I can capture on the way between here and Rugeley Trent Valley Station, Rugeley Town Station. So there may be some. I can just see a train going past me on my right hand side as well. That's the train that takes me from Birmingham into Rugeley Town. Now I mentioned earlier that I could have gone to Hensford. Where I am now, I'm too close to Rugeley Town Station to have decided to go to Hensford instead. Hensford would be about 3 miles in the wrong direction now. But from here, I'm about a mile to Rugeley Town. So I'm going to keep walking this way. And like I say, if I see any more images, I'll take them and let you know what I'm doing. So that there is the Horns. So I've just had a proper feed in there. Nice steak and chips. I'm heading back now along the trail, which kind of runs down the side of the pub restaurant and heads back along towards Slitting Mill waterfall. This is the village of Slitting Mill, so I'm not all that far away from the waterfall now. I know for a fact that along the way there's a composition on the trail, the heritage trail that I started on earlier. There's a composition there before I get to the waterfall itself. It's only a few hundred yards, and I also know that I can get a decent shot there because I've photographed it before, and I photographed it previously with a 70 to 300mm lens. Now of course, while I've got the 100 to 400mm lens in my bag, it may even be a better image because I can get that little bit closer to the subject in this particular composition. And then from there I'm going to head back via Slitting Mill waterfall. The conditions have changed a little bit since I started the walk, and I think there may also be another shot there. The light might be slightly different and it might look a little bit better taking this shot now, but also having walked to the waterfall before and now having come past the waterfall several times, I know there may also be another couple of compositions at that location that I haven't photographed before, so I'm considering going back there as well on the way back along the trail and capturing another couple of images with slightly different compositions. So let's head along the trail. So where you guys currently are, I hope you can see me all right, because I've kind of set the GoPro up on the floor just a few feet away from me on kind of a mound of ground. So hopefully you can see me all right, and hopefully you can hear me all right as well. But from where you are, you should be able to see the camera in front of me. I've got it set up with the 100 to 400mm lens on. I've got a composition out in front of me that I have shot before previously, and I shot this in late spring previously. The light was different, very different to what it is now. But also what we've got here is kind of this little gap in between some trees at the side of the trail, and I've got a great big sycamore tree behind me, and then out in front of me I've got the trail just in front of the camera, but also then I've got a field beyond that where there's a lone tree in the field itself, and I've got the camera set up and the composition is that lone tree in the field. But I mentioned this sycamore tree behind me. Now the branches of that sycamore kind of branch out over the top of me, and they create a framework in the top of the image around that tree itself. So I've got the tree in the centre of the image, but also then I've got the sycamore leaves hanging down on those branches in front of me, so I frame up the image. Behind that then, behind the tree itself, there are some more trees further back in the background, and then you've got this very, very kind of moody grey sky. There's no drama in it whatsoever, it's just very dull and murky. So by putting these sycamore branches and leaves into the top of the frame either side, what that's doing is it's first of all taking away some of that sky that I don't really want in the image, but also those trees behind the tree itself are also taking away some of that sky in the image that I don't really want. So it's framing it up very nicely. It's an interesting composition. Like I said, I saw it before. Previously, I didn't have quite as many of these sycamore tree branches hanging over in front of the scene, so it was easier to get a clear shot without those branches. But of course, at that point, like I said, it was in late spring. It might have even been late March, but it was in late spring, and the idea was that because there were no leaves in the way and all the light was falling onto that tree, it gave a really, really interesting composition at that point. And now, because the conditions are so much different, it's still giving a great composition, which I'm about to shoot now. I'm going to show you on the back of the screen exactly what it looks like, and I'm going to show you what I'm looking at from where I'm standing as well. So bear with me one moment and then I'll show you the image after that. So there you will see the image in front of me. Basically you've got my camera there right in front of you, and I'm looking towards that little gap in between these trees, and as I look a little bit closer you can see there you've got these sycamore trees leaves above the top end of the image, and then as you look through you can just see a glimpse of sky. And I don't know how well you can see it in this particular piece of video footage, but right in the middle of that you can also see that lone tree, and that's the tree that I want to capture in the image. I'm going to show you the composition right on the back of the screen right now, and that's how it looks. And as you can see, that's pretty perfect. You can't really tell just how good the light is on this particular, the back of the GoPro screen, but on the back of my camera screen I can see it very well. So what I'm looking at is just perfect really. So I'm going to take this shot now and then I'll show you the image. So you'll see from that image that really those sycamore leaves and branches in the top corners of the image are totally incidental. They don't even need to be in focus. So I'm shooting this with the tree itself in focus in the distance at just over 100mm, and it's also f5.6, ISO 100, and I think 1/15th or 1/30th of a second, probably 1/30th of a second. And with this misty murkiness caused by the drizzly rain that we've got at the moment, that's creating real great atmosphere within the image. So I hope you like that image. I'm now going to move on to Slitting Mill Waterfall, just a few hundred yards from here, take a couple of shots, and then I think I've just about got enough time to get back to the railway station just in time to catch my train. So I'm going to make my move now. I've just scared the shite out of a couple there. Basically they were standing on the trail doing the coats up, weren't even looking at me, and I kind of came around the corner and suddenly appeared in front of them, so they were a little bit scared and surprised, but I think they're all right. Yeah, like I was saying, the heavens have opened and the rain's coming down, so I'm just heading now to Slitting Mill Waterfall, which is literally just a couple of 100 metres away from where I'm standing right now, and then from there I'll capture a couple of shots and then head home. So this is Slitting Mill Waterfall. I hope you can hear me all right over the noise of this waterfall. It's not very big, and the space around it isn't very big either. There's not many options to move around along the embankment here, purely simply because it's quite steep at the very edges and there's not very much of it. So it's a case of getting in wherever you can really. There's a shot just up here behind me on the path, on the trail itself. and it looks quite good. There's a tree just here in front of me, and if you stand up on the trail and look down towards this waterfall here, then you can see this tree in the image. However, the tree could be right on the far right hand side of the shot, so it might be worth using that tree and a tree behind me as well to frame up an image like that using the portrait orientation or vertical orientation of this particular waterfall. But also I've come down here now onto the embankment itself, and I think there's a shot just here at the side of the waterfall. I'm going to try and set it up. Don't know how well I'll be able to set up the tripod, but I'll give it a go, and it may be that I'll just have to move around a little bit to work it out. So I'm going to try and set this image up and have a go at this one. Well, that might have ruined everything. I've just finished taking that shot, which I'll show you in a minute. I was trying to put the camera and lens back in the bag, and I've dropped the lens. Now, I don't think the lens is damaged in any way, so that shouldn't be a problem. But there's a pool of water, which is the drop off from slit in the waterfall here, and it's landed right on the very edge of that. Only about 2 or 3 centimetres submerged, and I don't know whether there's any water got into the lens at all. So what I'm going to try and do, it's the 24 to 105mm lens. What I'm going to try and do is take this last shot from upstairs on the side of the banking where I was talking about earlier, where the tree might be in the way, and see if I can capture that shot with that 24 to 105, and hopefully I can check that on the back of the screen, and if that looks alright, then the lens should just dry out normally anyway. So that might have scuppered things, but also it's important to have insurance for your kit. I have got it, so if there's anything wrong with this lens, I may well be able to get this replaced or repaired. But for now, I'm going to try and take this next shot using that lens. I've just been looking at the time as well, and with all that going on, I hadn't realised what time it was, and I think I've only got about 20 minutes now before my train is due. So it's going to be a little bit of a tight push now to get to that train and make sure I get on it on time, but I'm going to give it a go anyway. Thankfully, that's all the work done. So I hope you've enjoyed today's vlog and enjoyed watching me throw my lens in the water. And if you have enjoyed it and you've enjoyed the images, please remember to give it a thumbs up, and also if you haven't already, please remember to subscribe to the channel, because it really helps me going forward, and I really appreciate the support that you guys give me. And I look forward to seeing you again on another vlog very soon. Bye for now.